Hi, thank you for calling. It's a creator's world. We're just living in it.
Press 10,000.
I'm Nick Benson, founder and CEO of Atelier, a product platform for creators.
And I'm Rowi Singh, beauty creative. We're here to spill the tea on the creator economy and deep dive into the next evolution of the creator lifecycle. Okay, so Nick, would you rather the aliens that make first contact with us be robotic or organic?
Okay, well, can I? I'll tell you what I'd rather, and then I'll tell you what I think is likely.
Okay, go.
Okay, I would rather them to be organic because, like, I love sci-fi, and I want the aliens that we see in movies, but the realistic outcome is that we interact with artificial intelligence first. Because that's what we will do. We'll never do like deep space travel because moving matter is like mass is hard. What is easy is to send information through space. Like we do that and it moves at the speed of light, but you can never move matter as far as we know at the speed of light.
Yeah.
And so you can always send information out. And so we'll be able to send AIs that represent human intelligence out into the universe to be received. That's the most likely form of contact that we will have. But that sucks. It's not romantic. Like I want my aliens to be weird, man. Like,
Well, I think our first alien contact, we might not even see it.
Have we had it?
I feel like we could have had it in the fact that it might tap into a sense that we don't even have.
Right. Well, this is like an
That's
interesting
what I
idea
think.
as well, right? Is that like we exist within, our dimensions, of matter and our physical dimension of like speed of light and gravity and like all of these physical things that impact us, and we can interact with, the electromagnetic spectrum and whatever. But there could be just like a whole set of parallel laws, spectrums.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you can't even use the word matter. It's impossible to understand. I mean, we know that like whatever 96% of the universe is dark matter and dark energy, and we can't interact with it whatsoever.
Well,
so does it exist within that? Like, are there multiple parallel universes that are overlaid on top of each other that are, make up 6% of all of the matter, like ours? Is that how it is? I don't fucking know.
I'm lost.
Sorry.
I
I told you this would happen.
And the matter and the 6% and the dark matter and the night. Yeah. No, but I think so. I think I'd hope for aliens to be an organic life form. I think that would be
nice. It'd be nice.
I think it would be nice.
It'd be nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Rowi.
Yeah.
What's the closest thing you've had to a viral moment? Is it right now when this podcast drops?
That's a good question. And I think like what we sort of calculate virality based on like figures, right? Like a numerical figure. Like if, for example, if a TikTok reaches above a certain amount of views, it becomes quote unquote viral.
Right.
So I have had like a TikTok of mine reach like the millions of views, and it was when I like went to LA to the Fenty Beauty party, and I like got like a shot with Rihanna and put on TikTok.
When you say a shot, what?
We were like, I was standing a shot. I meant that in the like, someone like took some footage of us, and also like I was like had my phone out and we were filming, and we were like allowed to film and stuff. And so like I was like, it's Rihanna. And also I was lit, very drunk. But then we also did a shot, but she didn't actually do her shot. She just like held it and then passed it to one of the team members.
Consummate professional.
And I was like, fair enough, but also do the shot.
Yeah, do the shot.
Just do the shot.
Just do the shot.
I'm like, I get it. You're probably working, and she like is probably under strict instruction to just kind of like go up to everyone and say hey. But I was literally, I was at the bar,
Does
and
that
then
say
the
to
bartender like handed us shots, and I was like, all right, well, I'll have the shot. I don't have
Right.
anything to do. I need to talk.
Yeah. Does that say to you that she's maybe like, it's just so late in the game for her that she's probably just like a little bit jaded with it all?
Yeah.
Whereas like, because I feel like early in the career, it's on, like she doesn't even have to be on brand anymore. Like I would say maybe it's on brand to do the shot. It's like.
I feel like it was,
Yeah.
but maybe, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
But that moment was captured, and then it went like semi-viral. But I say semi-viral because it's interesting. Like there's so many different levels of viral, and viral could mean different things to different people.
Right. Not
just
Despacito
like
viral.
Despacito. Like viral to the point where it's just is can be on another level where it just circulates and circulates and it becomes
Yes.
a meme and it becomes part of pop culture.
Yes.
That's just like next level viral in my mind.
Right.
So I would say that I've had like pops of like viral moments, but I've never gone completely viral.
Right.
Because I've just been crafting myself over a long period of time, and I'll have little moments where I'll gain like maybe like 10 to 15K in a matter of weeks. But it's just like my content just reaching a certain point and then it kind of just dies off again.
Right.
Yeah. So you can have virality in seconds, but then you can lose it in seconds too.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I guess the question is what, like, I mean, I guess it's not a what is better, but like, I mean, for the sake of the conversation that we're having right now,
Yeah.
you know, I guess like what do you want to cultivate, right? Like, do you want the viral moments? Do you want the longevity? Can you have both? Do they work against each other?
I think everybody wants a viral moment. I think it's because it's quick and it's easy, and you just get this instant fame. But I don't think people are prepared for what comes after it, like how overwhelming that can be, and also how quickly people move on as a society. Like you could have that viral moment, but then people could not give. Are we swearing? People could not give a fuck in 2 instances.
I like that we're swearing, to be honest. I swear a lot.
I think it's natural.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you could have a viral moment in 2 seconds, and then in those 2 seconds following that, it could disappear in 2 seconds.
Yes.
Because people have moved the fuck on to like the next big thing.
Right.
And so that could result in a surge
Yes.
of attention, but attention that's not going to last.
Right.
And that's where I see a bit of an issue with virality, because you get so used to that. It's an addiction. You're like, oh my God, a surge in followers or an engagement, and you expect that over and over and over again, but that's not how it works.
Right.
It surges and it peaks and then it'll drop.
Yes.
So I don't like to rely on those like moments, because it like lifts my spirits too quickly, and I just get shut down when it doesn't happen again.
I think that maybe it's great if you can find them, but you also need to be prepared with what to do when you get it, right?
Yes,
because I think that there's so many examples of, you know, the candle burning twice as bright but half as long, right?
Yep.
And I think that it's great to find them, but how do you capitalize on those moments?
I mean, that's the question.
Well, that's the question. Yeah, that's not expecting you to have an answer to that, but like I think that's really important, because like, I mean, I guess then to answer that for yourself, which is how you would have to answer that, right? Like I don't think there's a general answer. You need to say, well, what do I want to achieve here? Like, am I just trying to get a follower, or am I trying to build a career out of, am I trying to build a community? Do I have a social cause? Like, what is the outcome here? Because like, I think like there's an element of strategy when you get to that point that you have to apply. You've got to be thoughtful about it. Otherwise you will lose it, right?
100%. I'll tell you like how I've sort of crafted myself over a long period of time, because it's not just like, I do like to build longevity with what I'm doing. Like I'm working my way up, and I've built like quite a loyal followership, but I also have to play in to trending moments. I need to tap into that. I need to
do that?
I do, and not often enough, because I just don't want to create content just because it's trending. So there will be a trend or like a viral song or something on TikTok, and people are creating this whole trend just for it. If it doesn't really align with something that I would usually do, I won't do it. So I find this middle balance between creating content I genuinely want to create, that I have like a lookbook at home, right? So it's like a full series of looks that I've just got written down every time I get an idea, and I dip into that little bank, because that's my content. That's my unique content. And I think that's what gives me my like USP. Like that's Rowi's aesthetic. That's Rowi's brand. People can come to my page and expect that level of content. But then I sort of mix that in with like trending bits and pieces. So like I'm trying to, I'll try and find an example. Like if there's like a trending brow moment where people are like, I don't know, bleaching their brows, I'll tap into that and I'll use that if that fits into my aesthetic. So it's kind of finding a balance between like trending content and the Rowi aesthetic, and marrying that together, and that it's pushing me forward, I feel.
Right. There's so much strategy in what you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's because you have to have your finger on the pulse constantly.
Well, I mean, I think that's honestly, like, I think whether you know it or not, that's what a viral moment is, right? It's like someone who manages to tap into the zeitgeist at that point in time.
Yeah.
And that's like that's what you need I mean, I say you need, but that's what happens when something goes viral is there's like a particular sentiment in the community. There's like a particular piece of content or something happens that is created and those two things come together and you see like viral moments. Like we think about content in the world of social media when we think about virality, but actually like, things go viral, have been going viral throughout history. And, like often, historically it's political movements that go viral. Like, I mean, we saw that with BLM, right? Like there's a catalyst, right? George Floyd gets murdered and then that catalyst taps into this moment, this like zeitgeist that's within the community of police brutality against marginalized people, and boom, viral moment, right? The entire world is like BLM.
Exactly. So you can either like be the catalyst for that viral moment, or you can jump on it at a really early point in time and sort of ride this massive wave. It kind of just it's definitely a wave, and then it'll die off eventually. Then there'll be another one. So I think it's just, I think that's sort of how I position myself, because I can't, as much as I want to just create what I want to create, it's just not necessarily going to make me grow at like exponential levels. I have to sort of do what people are thirsty for, like what do people want, and like what do people want to see mixed in what my actual brand and aesthetic is. It's just like a balance between the two. I mean, I guess like I was excited to talk about this stuff today because I mean, I guess I wonder, like with what we do, like we kind of help creators and brands create like longevity within their brands. And so I was like very interested in this conversation because I thought about it for years and years. Yeah.
And I guess I think about how I guess how creators are thinking about longevity. Like how far in advance are you thinking about your career? And then also like how far should you be thinking? Like do you think you're plenty long-sighted, or do you think you still could be a bit more strategic? And then like with your peers, like how do you think they think about it?
I think I have to be strategic because I have so many goals set for myself, and I want to keep pushing forward, and I want to, like, I'm enjoying myself right now, and I want to remain creative. I'm aware though that the industry that I'm in is just going to keep evolving, and then what I'm doing now will probably be completely different to what I'm doing in 10 years. And I also think but you can't plan too far ahead, because it just moves so quickly.
Right.
Like for example, TikTok just kind of came up. Like no one could have really predicted that platform was just going to come up and explode and be like the #1 social media platform in the world.
Right.
So I think there could be something that could be a gold nugget for me that doesn't even exist yet, that hasn't even been created.
Right.
So I have to plan for those moments and sort of like be a little bit more like flexy in terms of what my goals are. But then I also need like this bigger plan. And I think the bigger plan for me is taking what I'm doing. Like what I've done is I've captured, like, I call it like my Rowi aesthetic. It's like what I'm known for, like my colorful, bold, like eclectic looks, taking that and making that and letting that sort of travel amongst different creative verticals. So if I wanted to move to just solely styling, I can, but like people will still like that aesthetic, that brand I've created is still recognizable,
right?
No matter where I transcend creatively.
And I think that's a really good point, like thinking about like brandless viral moments.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and I think we were talking before we started recording about like people who go viral almost in spite of themselves, right? They're just like unadulterated, unfiltered, but then, you know, if there's no brand, there's no concise message, there's no kind of will to grow on top of that, like how do you, you know, I mean, we're talking about Chet Hanks, like how do you go Chet Hanks to Rowi Singh? Like there's a big gap there, right?
Yeah. And it's so different, but and what's keeping some people going is just being controversial, I guess. I think like being controversial and people will always find like tea, just like tea or like controversial content
Yes.
far more entertaining. And I think that is what propels people forward if they want to stay viral, like Bad Barbie, like when she had a Catch Me Outside, how bad that moment.
Right.
And then she turned that whole meme into a career, and now she's like a rapper, but she remains problematic as fuck.
Do you think that she had, like, that whole thing happened, right? Do you think that there was some suit somewhere going, I'm going to make this happen? Like, that's an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like, watch and reach out and say, hey, like, we can turn you into like a 10-figure brand. Like, we're going to make that happen right now.
Without a doubt.
Right.
Without a doubt. I reckon there's only so much she could have done.
Right.
I think someone saw an opportunity
Yes.
and jumped in straight away, like a manager or whatever, and just pushed her to the top.
Yes.
And they utilized her, like, controversies, her like problematic behavior, like her like the way that she speaks. They capitalized all
Right,
of that and
right.
pushed her forward.
Right.
It's interesting
Yeah.
because people say all the time, fuck, she's problematic, but she makes some pretty good fucking music.
Right.
So she would have had this team that sort of positioned her in the right way for her to remain, I guess, semi-viral, because that moment happened so long ago, but people
So
are still
long.
talking
Yes.
about her.
Yeah.
And she keeps having these moments where she appears in like pop culture and media, and like people are still talking about her. So
Totally. Yeah, I mean, I always think about Kanye in these moments because he's someone who seemingly can engineer viral moments, and just like through audacity, right? Like we spoke about the Taylor Swift moment at the VMAs. But, you know, over and over again, he engineers these viral moments, but also seemingly they exist within his strategy.
yeah,
I mean, I have to believe they exist within his strategy because
they have to.
Because how could they not? It's too consistent.
I mean, it's too consistent and it's so perfectly timed.
Yes.
Like something will happen right before he drops an album.
Yes.
And I think the same for the Kardashians. Some drama will happen maybe right before they release a season
Right.
of Keeping Up with the Kardashians, or whether they have something
Sure.
to push out, and suddenly everyone's talking about it.
What drama can we create? That's like just into my. I'm like, okay, what is our drama? Is there like some other podcast that we can beef with?
That's a thing, though. It's like you have to have this level of like I don't give a fuck
Right.
to be able to do that.
Right.
And it's so interesting to me.
We both care too much.
I think I care too much. Like I think I care too much about what other people think about me, and also I just don't want to put that like weird energy out into this
Yes.
world, because I don't know where I'm gonna land in
Totally.
10 years time.
Well, I think if you do that, like you're escalating, and you need to be ready for the consequences of your escalation, right?
100%.
And if you just want to do it once, it's like a path that you start down and you can't get off it. So it's like, yeah, if you want to lean into that, then you just get ready to have to escalate and escalate and escalate. And like, you know, some people thrive in the chaos. I mean, some people can only exist in chaos.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I
Yeah.
think that's the key to that sort of level of like being viral, where you're garnering so much attention, but it's bad and good. And I think it's the bad attention which is what propelling you forward, like which is what is getting you those views to begin with, right? Because people love the drama.
Yes.
It's all about drama, I
Yes.
think.
Yes.
In terms of that level of virality. But then you can have this consistent little like peaks and troughs, but you're sort of moving on an upward scale. And I think that is longevity mixed in with like trending moments. Maybe not viral moments, but little trending moments that you can jump on board to keep propelling you forward. That's the space that I like to be in, because
Right.
I have worked really hard to craft a brand that is like really high quality. Like the content I put out takes a lot of work. There's a lot of thought behind it. There's a lot of color theory behind it, and that has taken me a really long time. And to throw that out the door for like a controversial viral moment that just pushes me into like the media sphere for like 2 seconds and then drop out and then maybe never have that moment again, it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it. And I think also, I don't know if. I think also being like a person of color, you have to you've worked so hard to be a trusted figure, to be a trusted public figure.
The ice is thinner for you, Rowi.
Yes, it is really thin. You don't want to fuck up, because
Right.
people all of a sudden are going to point fingers and think that you're like, I don't know. It's you just have this level of like professionality that you need to keep
Right.
as a person of color because you've worked so hard for people to take you seriously.
Right. Right.
So I just don't have the time or space to throw any of that away.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, let's talk about then longevity, right? Like the flip side of the viral coin. Or maybe it's not the flip side of the coin. Maybe it is two sides of the same coin. I don't know. Whatever. Everyone listening can just like make what they will of that analogy.
Yeah.
Is this something that you think your peers are thinking about? Are they having are you going to an event and people are having conversations about, like, are they stressed that they are on this? Like, because I guess like virality you can think about in different ways. Like, yeah, you can have like a viral moment that happens in seconds, but you can also have like, if you know, is a year of popularity similar to a viral moment? Is 5 years of popularity similar to a viral moment? Like, I guess, you know, how do we define longevity and what are people looking for when they think about that? Because obviously, like, 2 years of popularity is really inconsequential anyway, right? Unless you're thinking about ways to, I guess, like strategically maximize the value you can create in the world, you know?
It's interesting. I've had chats with people who are so happy where they are and they don't actually plan on expanding or moving forward.
Right.
And, you know, they're like financially secure and they can see that security for like the next 5 to 10 years and they are not planning on having any sort of like rise up. They're just they're there and they're happy. And I respect that.
What are they going to do after 5 to 10 years though? Because it's like an athlete, right? It's like
but it's exactly that.
Isn't that terrifying?
It
like
terrifies
succession
me.
Planning like
it absolutely terrifies me. But I guess people who think like that, you're not really forward planning, and I guess you will be forced to forward plan when that moment comes.
Yes.
Which I think that's fine. Like if that's the way that you want to exist.
Absolutely. Yeah,
because you might force to move into another adventure or suddenly decide, for example, like Hilary Duff, I am happy where I am. All right, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm going to start a family.
Yes.
Or like
Emma Watson.
Emma Watson, like I'm going to quote unquote like retire from acting and like start a family. So I reckon a lot of people haven't even thought about it because it's really hard to predict where this is going to go.
Right.
But because in the back of my mind, I've had people who aren't in the industry be like, aren't you worried about like what's going to happen when influencers are no longer going to be a thing? Like I think people have it in their head.
That's such a funny idea.
It is a funny idea, but like think about the fact that Instagram, when it first had its massive rise, I would say like 2012, 2013, people were like, this is going to die.
Yes.
Like this is going to be a quick thing. Like, and I remember when I was building my content on Instagram, I did have people not doubting, but I guess like fair questions of like, but what are you going to do next? Like this is probably like Instagram's not going to be around forever. Right. But yet here we are and it's still happening.
Yes.
Yes, we do have another platform, like a huge platform, TikTok, competing with Instagram. But we're still here, and it's still profitable for me. Yes. And it's still an incredible platform for my content. Yes. And it's just evolved in a completely different way.
Yeah, and I guess that's probably the thing is that like, and maybe what your suggestion is to be responsive. Like you need an element of planning, but then an element of dynamism to respond to the environment that you're in. Because maybe
you just have to be incredibly agile.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah, because it's just that's the question, right? If I think about this a lot, like if social media died tomorrow, like it just went down, the whole platform went down, that is so many people's livelihoods gone in the snap of a finger. Right. Like it's just bye. So you have to think about like, do you have something that you can carry on to a different platform in 2 seconds and people are willing to follow you? Right. If you had this viral moment and you just had this explosion and then Instagram died, people might just forget about you because that's where your viral moment existed. And then there's not really like now I want to see what they're doing next. Like that was just that one meme moment and it's gone.
So you're doing a thing called a pre-mortem, right? You're like trying to understand how your demise might come about.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the more I think about it, the less scary it is.
That's nice.
Like if I'm thinking about like preparing for like if something happened and it just all kind of collapsed and failed, I can't that can't be the end. It won't be the end.
So do you think about competition then? Competition. So yeah, like if you compete, you would never compete with Google for search
Yes.
or like Facebook for search for people, which is what Facebook really is.
Mm.
But if there's a highly competitive space, but no clear winner,
Yes.
then you can carve out a piece of that for yourself. And I think you can think about the restaurant industry is highly competitive, right? There are restaurants everywhere, and you can open a successful restaurant, right? You might not be the Google of restaurants. You might not be this like one global dominant player, but you can. There is space within the fray of that competition that allows you to exist. But it doesn't mean that it can't get more competitive, and it doesn't mean that like you can be the best Bengali restaurant in East Sydney and another Bengali restaurant can open in East Sydney and knock you off your perch.
100%.
Right?
This is the thing, because I think when I think about competition, it kind of goes hand in hand with like comparability. Like you start to compare yourself or like against other creators who are doing something very similar to what you're doing. And there was a point in time where it was just, I didn't have many other creators doing artistic makeup in the way that I was doing makeup.
Right.
It was very like bronzy, like cut crease, like that was the trend. Now it's definitely moved to like a huge space of everyone like dabbling in graphic liners and really bright pops of color. But the difference between like your example of like in the tech space, like the Google search, no one's going to be like, all right, like I have a need for Google search and I also have a need for Yahoo and Bing. Like, no, you have the one need. But in the creator sphere, in this like inspirational artistic sphere, you have multiple creators that can feed your soul. And I think that's why there's space for everyone. So I've never really thought about, oh shit, like I have competition. I'm about to be knocked off my pedestal, because you either do what they're doing and a little bit better and tweak yourself. And then even if you think like, also who's better than, like there's no such thing as being better than a creator, because it's so subjective. Like the way that everyone's art exists within that vertical is so subjective. And I think there is room for everyone, because you may think, oh, my work isn't as good as theirs, but there could be a follower who's like, no, I fuck with you. I fuck with you so hard. But I also fuck with them. I fuck with you both. And you both give me a source of inspiration. So I think competition wise, it is fine. It's fine. I've never really...
I completely agree with this.
Yeah.
And I think that like...
It's different in that creator space, I think.
Well, I think like you can draw out the food analogy, like the restaurant analogy to the creator space, and to say that more creators and better creators only work harder to make the industry stronger. So you'll get something like the Sydney food scene, which like for people that's listening, like food in Australia in general and Sydney and Melbourne is incredible. And you get incredible restaurants opening all the time. And what that does is educate people around what incredible food is and creates a demand for that food that maybe wasn't there before. And then all of a sudden you have a bigger market, more people looking for that thing. I think that's the same thing. Like if I'm not on Instagram and one of my friends shows me a particular creator that I can only access on Instagram that really speaks to me, like, you know, it could like really niche, like, you know, whatever. I think he's like Paul Stamets, the mycologist, goes around looking at mushrooms. Like there's not many mushroom creators, influencers out there. Someone shows me that. I love that. Great. I follow him. I'm on the platform now. Who else can I follow? You know?
Exactly.
I also love artistic makeup, so I'll follow Rowi Singh.
No, exactly. You sort of like, if we're thinking about it from an audience point of view, like it's like a collection of things that inspire you. There's not like one sure thing that you might have like your favorite creator, but there are different little things feeding your inspiration. Right. And it's a whole ecosystem of art. That's the way I like to think about it. And I think everyone has their space, and there could be people doing the exact same thing to the T, but it will still be different because you're a different person and your art will always be unique no matter what it is. Right.
So you're a consumer as well as a creator, right? Like you obviously follow creators, right?
100%.
How often are you cleaning up who you follow? How often are you like, you know, talking about longevity, right?
Good question.
Like how often are you, okay, because you must be sensitive to that, right?
Yeah. So, like spring clean the
Do you
followership.
spring clean, or do you just like see someone in your feed and be like, oh, I'm not really getting anything? From
I
that,
don't
unfollow?
actually go into my followership and be like, all right, let's see who I can unfollow. Only very, very, very rarely where I'm like, okay, no, I'll unfollow you. But it's mainly when people pop up my feed and I'm like, I don't remember following you, or oh, this isn't my vibe anymore. I'm gonna unfollow. And it's funny because when you as a user of the platform, it's so impersonal.
Right.
Like it's just like whatever. Like this isn't like doing it for me anymore. I'm just gonna unfollow.
Yes.
But to the creator, if I was watching people unfollow me, you take that so personally. Like, what have I done? But it's not at all.
No.
It's such a quick action
Yes.
that you just like unfollow
It's
it right
like
next.
a low investment, like action.
Exactly.
No thought process.
It's
really.
no thought process.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, that's not what I'm vibing with at this exact instant moment, and you unfollow.
Still hurtful.
It is hurtful. You're like, oh, but what did I do? Like, what did I do to make you like, discard of me in a matter of an instant? So, it's so interesting. Like, I can see my stats, and I can see sometimes I'll lose more followers than I'm gaining. And
really?
I'm like, yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm in the negative.
Will you attribute that to some immediate posts that you've done? We're talking about going like reverse viral here. So
reverse viral. Yeah.
Who even knew that was possible?
I'm in the negative. Like I'm dipping.
Yeah.
I'm dipping. But it's sometimes okay. So sometimes it can be just inactivity. Like Instagram will punish you for taking mental health days. Like I just went away for the weekend and I didn't post really for like 3 or 4 days.
Right.
And my like story count or like my story impressions just dropped by more than half. And then I like lost a couple of followers.
Because the algorithm's not supporting you?
Yes.
That's so interesting. I used to get like, way back, like when I would post it a lot, I would get like 1,000 to 2,000 views on stories. And now I rarely post, and then when I put something up, it's like 300 to 400, and I'm like, come on, man.
It's Instagram manipulating the fuck out of you and like pushing you up to the top of the feed depending on how much you're engaging with the platform, and then they're just serving your content out like do. But if you're not posting, they're like, all right, inactivity.
And it's to support obviously activity. It's to incentivize activity to keep the app relevant. Yeah, but also you can play with that as a creator.
Exactly. And going back to the point of consistency, consistency feels like an absolute bitch. Like, why do I have to post every single day? It is relentless. And sometimes when you're posting consistently at the beginning, when you're trying to build a followership, it feels like you're hitting a brick wall because you're getting the same results each time. And you're like, when am I going to grow?
Right.
When am I going to grow? But then sometimes that consistency evolves into a moment of and you just peak all of a sudden.
And you just need to be ready for those moments.
You have to be ready for those moments. And sometimes your content will just get caught in the algorithm and it'll just spin you all the way to the top.
Yes.
That's why I just think of it like a tornado. Like you'll get caught in it and then you'll pull out again. And that's why it's important to stay consistent because you're more likely to have these moments of virality. Like your content is more likely to hit like a huge amount of people. Like your impressions will spike the more you post.
Right. So
it's a pain.
Yes.
But it's necessary. It's necessary.
It's what you
truth.
do. It's like you've got to, that's the game that you're in.
That's the game.
And you can't survive without it. So
exactly. And it's this weird balance between, I mean, you can't just sit there and post whatever the hell you want. It has to be like quality content.
Right.
It has to be content that people within the first few seconds of the upload, people are immediately going to double tap because it's those first few seconds of people liking that pushes the content up.
Interesting.
Yeah. So for example, I can tell if I post a photo in the first minute, I can tell if this is going to do well or not just by the rate at which people are liking every 10, 20 seconds.
Right. Okay.
It's like down to the second I can tell if something's going to do well because it's got caught. All of a sudden, like Instagram's responding to people's actions, like people hitting that like button at a faster rate.
Yes.
Instagram's like, all right, push it up. People are liking this.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So workshop with me, Rowi. What can a what can a creator do to engineer longevity? I've got some thoughts, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, so
what are the options?
I think the first of all, you need a plan. You do need a plan, like a loose plan of like like 5 years, like where you want to be, because that's going to carry you forward.
What's an example of a plan? Like, is a plan like surely a plan's not like, well, I want a million followers.
Because that's just like, all right, so how do we get there? So if you do want it to be follower based, you're like, okay, so I'm going to reach like 5K in the next 3 months, and in order for me to do that, I'm going to collaborate with XYZ influencers. I'm going to work with this brand. I'm going to like go live, or I'm going to do a giveaway. Like you have like certain things that are going to push you forward, and then you are going to listen. Like you've got to have your ear to the ground. You're going to post consistently, and then when you do have that spike in content, when something does really, really well, you're going to analyze that piece of content and see why did that do well? Was it the composition? Was it the color? Like what about that particular photo did so well? Then you're going to do that again and see if that creates another spike.
So they sound like tactics.
Yes. Is that like?
No, I mean it's good. It's good. But so like I think like
how to.
Yeah, that's good. So you've got like a strategy, which are like you can think about your goals or something.
Yeah.
So like I mean I always have to bring the analogy back to tech because it's like the world that I understand, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about like Apple and Google, like they have very different strategies and they have very different tactics, but actually they look quite similar. So like Apple's goal is to sell handsets, like cell phones, and that's their strategy is like cell phones, right? That's how they have a successful business. But their tactics are provide you with the full network of, and this comes from this guy Benedict Evans, who's like a genius. Also has a great podcast. Just shouting him out because this is not my thinking, but they have a full suite of services built into that device that give you access that are their tactics to keep you on the device. And so they'll have like cloud storage, they've got like their photo album, they've got maps, they've got like all of these tactics that they work on to help so that you stay in that ecosystem, you buy the next phone. And then like Google seems similar. They sell phones, right? And they've got the photo album, they've got like the cloud storage, they've got the like same kind of business activity, but Google's strategy is to collect your data and sell ads, right? And they do that by selling you the phone. So the phone becomes the tactic.
Yeah, right.
Right? And so I think like this strategy is the high level goals.
Yes.
You know, and then the tactics are like, what are the things that you're going to do right now in order to build that, like achieve that strategy to like build the brand to get to that point?
Well, if I want to create longevity, you need to create community. Like you need a loyal audience who are going to, I guess.
Say it louder, Rowi. Like, absolutely. Like, yeah. That's
you need community.
Yes.
And you need like, it goes back to that concept of 1,000 true fans. Like why people are essentially diehard, and it doesn't need to be a lot of people. It just needs to be a group of people that on and on and like over and over and over again, they're going to show up for your content because they love what you have to say, and each time like it I don't know, they get their fix from your content,
right?
Essentially, and it's in community. And I think to build that community, it's like having that two-way conversation with your followership.
Yes.
Responding, like even like if people ask like, oh, can you do this look? Can you create this? And then you post it like, I'm going to create this look, and people get a good response out of it. Like, yeah, please do it. Then you actually do it. They feel heard and listened to. And that content is just going to do so well because you're responding directly to your audience. It really isn't all in the community.
Right.
And nurturing your community and, you know, creating content that feels authentic to you, but also that people are like, fuck yes, like I'm here for a long time. There are people that I've been following for years and years and years because they just consistently serve, and I like they have like a brand aesthetic that I'm so here for.
Yes.
And maybe they don't even talk to their audience, but it's just a consistency that is keeping me looped in and tied in.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure.
I feel like that's
And so, I mean,
key.
I guess like then we're talking about the longevity of the creator journey, and then like what, like should a creator be thinking about like, okay, you're on the path to longevity, like, you know, maybe you've had your viral moment and you've capitalized on it, or you haven't had a viral moment and you've like, you know, like hustled to get an audience over a long period of time. Are you thinking about maximizing your career as a creator? Are you thinking about, okay, now I'm here, where else can
next?
I go?
Yeah.
Like, am I moving sideways? Am I like launching multiple creator brands? Am I what are you thinking about? And then how should other creators be thinking about their futures?
Naturally, that's the next step. Like what's the next big thing that I can do that I'm passionate about but still aligns with what I'm already doing? So for me, like, I want to start a brand because I have an aesthetic that I can now channel into my own product. I feel like that's like the natural step of like where I want to take it.
Right.
And it could be multiple things at the same time, like for example a podcast, like
Right.
what we're doing right now,
Right.
where people get to hear a little bit more of what's going on inside Rowi's brain, and it's not just like visual, like people can hear me and find like another connection to what I'm doing.
So it's like building out brand Rowi to represent multiple experiences.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I've got like my home decor account that I created called Rowi's Room, so that's like a whole other aspect of people who is like this weird cross section between like creative makeup and fun home decor.
Right.
I have that niche of people who are following me for that as well. And then expanding across platforms. What else? Like there's so many things that you can do, but it's within your aesthetic and you're just taking that next step.
Right.
Collaborations with brands. So creating a line with a brand, creating your own brand. Going on a podcast, or like maybe going into reality TV, becoming a presenter of some sort. Like you're still within that realm, and that people can still sort of follow your, I guess like trajectory, or like your career trajectory. But
who do you look up to in that sense? Like, who do you idolize? Who you've seen their career from, whatever, 5,000 followers, built the account, like built the community, got the longevity, and then have just like crushed it, and you're just like, oh my god, that's it.
I always think like Flex Mommy, because she has built such an incredible community, and over a long period of time. Like I think I've been following her since she's had like 5-10K.
Yeah.
And the thing about like Lil, she can do anything.
Right.
And it's going to be incredible
She's
because
a smart cookie,
she's
huh?
smart. Like she
Yeah.
can actually channel herself into anything.
Yeah.
Anything. And it might seem a little bit like left field, like, oh, why is she doing that? But because of the vigor that she approaches it with, and like because she does it in such an incredible flex aesthetic, like
Yes.
flex way.
Yeah, so on
people,
point.
it's like she did chicken salt. She created her own line of chicken salt, but it made sense.
Bless.
So you can do whatever the
Yeah,
hell you
yeah,
want to do,
yeah,
as
yeah,
long
yeah.
as you're doing it with the same vigor and attention
right,
and
right.
consideration as your original content and
Right.
your original like ideas.
Mm,
So
mm, mm.
I think that is just like a really good model for like, you can do anything, and if social media did die tomorrow, the next best thing, what is it? Just
Yes.
go, just jump on it immediately.
Yes.
Yeah, don't hesitate.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that's the key. You literally could, like, I could go into a line of like food catering or something.
What's the weirdest thing that you can do? What is...
where people were like, that is fucking strange.
Honestly, if you said chicken salt, I'd be like, yeah, it's pretty...
I mean, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
It's strange.
It's so good, though.
But it's weirdly makes sense because it has like a tie
Oh,
to
I
like
love
something that you like,
Yeah.
something that she enjoys.
Oh my God.
And then, and
I wish I did chicken salt.
like it's
So good.
It's so good. I mean, the weirdest thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna like...
I don't know, like maybe like cleaning TikToks. Like I go into like being like a clean.
Like,
Clean
like
hacks.
before and after.
Yeah,
like
like,
you do that thing that a
like-
cleaning brand have where you like knock on a stranger's door with the product.
Yeah.
And then you go in and you're like, I'm here to clean your oven.
Yeah,
and then you
yeah.
clean the oven.
I feel like that's the weirdest
It's pretty
thing.
weird. Probably
Yeah.
do really well.
Yeah, but you can make it work because like maybe I have like my own Rowi branded cleaning products, and they're all like pink and
Yeah, yeah,
like
yeah.
purple and like sparkly and like ethical and sustainable, and it like appeals to a niche audience, but it makes sense.
Yep.
So I guess you can kind of go anywhere.
Right.
You can take it anywhere, but as long as you take it with that same like energy that you
Yes,
started your
yes,
original craft with,
Yeah.
you can do it.
Yeah. And keep it true to your brand.
Keep it true to your brand. Yeah.
Do you
because
define your brand? Like, have you done that work, or it's just so innate to you? Like,
it's so, I think it's a little, it's very innate. I don't really have to think about like what
Mm. But so your manager has to think about it. Like, have you had to do that work with them? Like, I guess other people, like, yeah, obviously innate to you, but other people have to understand it as well, and then also communicate it on your behalf sometimes.
Exactly right. And I think it's I think the good thing about Instagram is that it's like your portfolio. It's like a window into who you are. So you could scroll down my feed and get a pretty good idea of what I'm about, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
Just from like an aesthetic point of view. And I think it's like eclectic, it's colorful, it's bold, it like intertwines my culture. It's very like, you know, it's very, I don't know, like, it's empowering, I guess.
Yeah.
It centers women, and it has like an air of like confidence about it. Like that's what I've done innately, and like I haven't really thought about it, but then now that I look at it, I can lean into it a little bit more.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
Love
like
that.
I can do like edgy Rowi, or I can do like femme Rowi, where it's like flowers and it's all still part of my overarching brand.
Yes. Yeah. That's so cool.
Yeah. Fucked it.
That's Lindsay Lohan's best work.
That's wild.
I'm not on to it. Now there's 2 claps. Is that bad? I don't think we should.
No, don't put that one in.